Hi. So I've been talking in this series about flow. I've been talking about the idea of flow and the idea of the hustle. And I've been asking you if you have any questions, and some questions that came up were around the definitions of both of these. So I want to explain what flow is, and then I'll explain sort of what I mean about hustle or working hard, things like that. So to define flow, most of you have probably felt flow. It's the optimal state of consciousness. It's kind of how some people define it. It is being very present in the moment. You are sort of lose track of all time, and you lose track of your self-consciousness, that like inner critic. You feel at your best and you perform at your best. So you're more productive in flow and you're happier. And you feel like you're fully engaged in life. There's been a lot of study around flow, and if you want to do more research, I would check out Steven Kotler, who has been doing a lot with performance athletes and business. And then the person who really put flow on the map is Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, who studied flow and really came up with the term. But so I'm really interested in also the idea that when you get into this state of flow, you're able to access your intuition. And it's really interesting because they've studied flow a lot, and it's really a process of the brain. And it's a way actually for our brain to do less work. So it works faster and it does less work. It takes a little bit of the processing away from the frontal cortex, where you're doing a lot of your logical analyzing, and it brings it into a broader scope, a higher level, where it's accessing this sort of intuition and the things that it has absorbed that you're not really conscious of a lot of times. And, so high performance athletes, they've studied a lot in this. And so there's a lot of that research out there, and high performance athletes get into this flow and they tap into this intuition. Some people call it the voice, like where it's kind of like one step ahead of you. It's really kind of interesting, telling you what to do. Or artists, scientists can get into this flow. Mystics have talked about this flow as well. So it's really an interesting kind of place. And for me, I'm really interested in the idea that we can live in this state of flow a lot of our life. So there's micro flows and there's macro flows. So micro flows would be sort of when you're driving your car, in your shower, and you're open, you're feeling that kind of relaxed state. And macro flows would be, that scientific discovery, or the painter who's painting a masterpiece and gets into this state where they're just going with it. They're not thinking, they're not in that analyzing mode. They're just doing the next thing, right? They're opening themselves to possibilities. They're doing the next thing. So for me, I'm really interested in, yes, the business side of it. How can it make your business more effective? But also like everyday life, right? So how can we implement this in everyday life? So now I want to talk about, what do I mean when I talk about the hustle? So I've been talking about moving from the hustle or this hard work mentality to more of flow. So a lot of people define the hustle as a force or pushing or hurrying something along in a certain direction. And that sort of feels like the opposite of flow to me. And so we all know people who can easily be in flow, or they're in the moment. They're not really thinking about the future. They're kind of flowing, and they're late for the party, but maybe they have trouble thinking about the future. So I'm not really talking about those kind of people. All right, now I'm talking about those of us who are stressed. Maybe we have goals, we are working hard towards things, but we're stressed, we're getting burnt out, we're pushing, we're striving, we're forcing things to go further, right? So we're really buying into this mentality of hard work and doing what other people tell us to do to make things happen, right? So in flow, you're really connected to your intuition, and it feels easy and it feels effortless. And in the hustle, it feels like you're disconnected from yourself, right? So I see this a lot, especially with women. Especially, I've been teaching a long time, and I see this especially with my students who have grown up female gendered, raised that way, because we are so inundated with this idea that we have to be perfect, and we are told what to do, how to get from step to step. We don't trust ourselves as much. I'm just saying this is a generalization, what I've seen in women, and we are taught not to trust ourselves. So for instance, my students will say like, oh, but how do I do that? How do I do that? What should I do? You know, not really digging into like what they need for themselves. So I see hustle as this pushing and struggle, and a lot of people getting burnt out, right? So it leads to burnout, overwhelm, and being stressed. I've experienced this myself, not being able to tap into the flow for myself, not being able to tap into my intuition. So these are the people who I'm talking about when I'm talking about maybe you're in this hustle, you're moving forward. Yeah, the hard work gets stuff done, but there's this, new concept of living more through these creative ideas. Creativity is really what the future is coming to, right? We're not cogs in a wheel doing what somebody tells us to do anymore. Creativity is king. So what I really am interested in is how can I take these creative concepts like flow, intuition, curiosity, and bring them to you, to me, to help us to get into that flow every day. We know that it is possible to live in flow much of the time, and it brings our happiness level up, right? So this has been studied that the more people are in flow, the more the happier they are. So that is really what I'm interested in is how can we bring these concepts, and flow really is about, you have to have a goal, you have to have an end, something you want to accomplish in sight. So taking those goals and using flow to achieve them, right? And in every moment, how can we break those goals down and bring flow into our life in every moment? What would it be like if we got more done in less time? This has been proven too. So we can accomplish more in less time, then we have more free time to do whatever we would like, right? What would it feel like if our moments were flowing effortlessly from one moment to the next? So this is really what I'm going to be talking about in the coming months. I want to talk about intuition and sort of taking that from a kind of woo-woo out there concept to a more practical concept. So these are things that I want to incorporate, these creative ideas, but how can we practically bring them into our life to create a more balanced life instead of stressing ourselves out and creating so much anxiety about getting things done or living a life that we want but ends up making us miserable. So thanks for listening. I hope that clears anything up. If you have any questions, you can leave comments or message me. All right, talk to you later.